Well, Chris,
Oh, that's so
hold on, buddy.
bad.
I'm in the middle of a storm here, Chris. What else? I know, just bear with me. It's good to see you. That's good. Good to see you. I don't eat those, like.
Oh my God, I'll stay away. That's worse than Costco. I'm just. I get deflected it so big. The original section of half life 48. There was insulation. Just that layer. Like everybody split on it. It's a lot of areas. I suspicion that tendon. They cost nothing. So one last thing, I just want to is behind the flag. Industrial, commercial, electric, commercial, pharmaceutical. He's no library. And my neighbor came down for the donation. Very rich. Very unexpected. Oh, God. Oh, yes, that's the Sally's project.
You okay there? No, you're in the center, girl.
Oh.
Put you right here. You're good. You okay?
Hey, Mike, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It was very faint, but it might be because we got noise in here. I don't know. Hey, Mike, could you give us a test count?
Test 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
I think it's just loud in here. Give it a minute to quiet down. I can hear you. It's not very. The public's just loud. So it is. When everybody quiets down.
I don't know if I can keep it. I'm gonna try to quiet everybody down so we can do a sound check. Good evening, everyone. Before we get started, I just wanted, we're going to do a quick mic check so that we can hear Supervisor Davey.
Check 1, 2, 3.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, I have 6:31. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Prior to this meeting, we had an executive session where we discussed legal and personnel matters. We have a recording device up at the dais for the purposes of taking minutes. We're also live streaming on YouTube, and the session will be recorded. I just want to remind everybody, we did roll out a decorum policy. We're going to try to do our best to feel our way through that. But if you have comments, please come up and state your name and address your comments to the board. And we're looking at a 3-minute time for each comment on each agenda item. On to the approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from our regular meeting of April 14th, 2026.
I will second. So motion made by Supervisor Iacono and seconded by myself. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I abstain. I wasn't present.
Thank you, Supervisor Davey. On to the treasurer report, Mr. Bars.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to take a look at my report. I'd just like to touch on a couple different items that are included therein. Cash balance as of April 30th is up $210,644.55 over where it was a year ago on all township-wide accounts. Currently sitting in all accounts in the township in all funds, there's $492,960.87. 1 year ago, we were at $7,282,316.32. You may remember last year, I looked at the general fund and it was down a bit. We flipped, we're up $56,000, which is a good sign. So there's a lot of things that are happening in the first couple of months of the year with real estate taxes collected. So, but that's a really good thing. Because the general fund is really the most important fund in the, to operate in our operations of the township. We are averaging about $3,000 of interest income a month in the general fund, which is really nice. And I've noted, and hats off really to the staff. The biggest cash balance in each one of the funds is in Pliget Prime. And Pliget is a trust that was created specifically for municipalities. And it's very, very high yielding and has historically been like the highest yielding investment that municipalities could purchase. So we're really being good stewards of the money in each one of the funds. Currently, the prime rate is at 3.73, which is really good. So the largest cash balance in each one of the funds is in our prime. Just jumping into some of the variants of the real estate transfer taxes, we're $34,000 over budget, reflecting the solid market value in our real estate here in township. We currently in our trash fund, we've got $1.18 million, which represents almost 12 months worth of expenditures. That's got to take us into February and March of 27. So we're in good shape there. And our EMS fund, we've got 15.84 months of expenditures after all the real estate taxes have been collected, which is exactly the same that we were last year. So, or last month. So all in all, things are good. Bottom line.
Thank you. And I noticed it looked like the ARP did get zeroed out this month. So
Yep.
that
Took care of it.
And the only other question I had was, I know we go through kind of a rolling renewal of our pligot percentage, like I don't know if it's there's a vesting period where we have to, or that might be.
Our term investments.
yeah.
Yeah, we have a few. I think we still have a few term investments, but there are various staggered terms.
Is there nothing on the near-term horizon for us?
I'd have to look at that. I'd have to
Okay.
check. Right now, I think everything is in prime. At least that's, per the treasurer's report, everything is in our prime, which is the highest yielding money market that Pliget has to offer.
Great, thank you. Is there any other comments for Mr. Bars? Well, I'd like to make a motion to accept the treasury report, pay all bills, and release relevant escrows.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded by Supervisor Iacono. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, within the finance report, we'll start off with this. I'd like to make a motion to enter the authorization into a stipulation to resolve tax appeal for 1561 Conchester Highway, establishing an assessed property value of $4,357,080 for the 2026 tax year.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded by Supervisor Iacono. So this is someone who is looking to appeal the tax assessment that was given to them. Mr. Madden, I don't know if you want to.
This is an appeal that occurred for 2026 taxes to the Board of Assessment Appeals. The Board of Assessment Appeals held the level. Taxpayers appealed to the Court of Common Pleas. This is a value that was established in negotiation between the school district and the taxpayer using the school district's appraiser, and the school district, the county, and the Board of Assessment Appeals have already approved this.
Thank you. Is there any questions or comments from the board on this? Any questions, comments from the public on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to taxes. The tax collector's report during the month of April. There were 98 invoices collected for the 2026 taxes. Total tax collected for April was $93,014.25 and was remitted to the township in one installment on May 8th, 2026. As of April 30th, 2026, 3,309 tax bills were collected out of the 3,575 for a 92.56 collection rate. I don't know if Mr. Plash is
I
here.
didn't see him.
Okay, well, that concludes the tax report. On to public safety.
Police, chief.
Mr. Chairman, evening, everyone. During the month of April 2026, the police department had 896 calls. They were broken down to 281 911 calls, 615 officer generated calls. And to further break them down, there were 34 medical emergencies. There were 7 assists to other departments. There was 1 aggravated assault with a weapon, 15 alarms, 84 traffic stops, resulting in 109 citations, including non-traffic arrests. There were 13 domestic disturbances, 9 crashes, 2 thefts, 10 other criminal investigations. 481 building and development checks were conducted. There was 14 suspicious vehicles and persons, and 1 municipal ordinance violation, and 131 miscellaneous calls. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. please use mental health awareness resources for any support that you may be needed. If you or someone you know needs mental health services, the crisis hotline is 988. It can be dialed. And again, always be situationally aware of your surroundings and call 911 to report any suspicious activity. If you see something, say something. I am a little bit saddened to report that the other night we had our first incident this summer of someone going around checking car doors again in the middle of the night. A resident, local resident, not too far from the station itself, was caught on their Ring camera around 4 o'clock in the morning. An individual walking up, trying to get into their car. They were unsuccessful. The vehicles were locked and they walked away. Unfortunately, she did not see, the Ring alarm didn't wake her up until about 20 minutes later, at which time she called police. We sent officers over to the area, but of course the individual was not in the area at that time. This is one of the, in my opinion, one of the hardest groups to catch because they can see our headlights from a car coming a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile away, and we still can't see them at that point in time. So, they duck behind a bush, they duck behind the house, and by the time we check the area, they come back out and go the other way or go on their way. And, but they are out there again, starting, unfortunately. So please make sure your car doors are locked, make sure your house doors are locked, your garage doors are secure. They don't break into the cars. They just try it and see if it's open. And if it's not open, they literally wander away and go to the next person. So the more cars we have locked, the fewer thefts we will have during the summer, as I'm sure that they won't stop.
And the garage.
In the garage.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks, Chief. We do have a proclamation. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt Proclamation 2026-05. Proclamation of Bethel Township, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, declaring May 10th through May 16th Police Week. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as Police Week. And whereas the officers of the Bethel Township Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the township. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. Therefore, be it resolved, Bethel Township does hereby proclaim May 10th through May 16th as Police Week.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And another point of recognition for one of Bethel's own, stand up in the back there, Officer Kimball. Officer Kimball was named VFW District 7 Police Officer of the Year. Come on up so everybody at home can see you. So congratulations to Officer Kimball. Thank you for all your hard work and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very unexpected honor. Hit me out of the blue. They called me on a Saturday 2 weeks ago. I thought the phone call was a scam at first because I didn't recognize the number, kind of recognized the name. Then he started naming some guys in the township I know. I'm like, okay. Says your name was brought up and it was voted on. I was like, wow, totally unexpected, but very honoring. I'll be at the banquet Friday night to make it official, but thank you very much.
Well deserved, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That concludes the police report.
Okay, thank you. On to Bethel Hose Company number 1. I don't know if anybody hears from.
Didn't see anybody out.
So I was going to go ahead and read through the report. The chief report, the reporting period of April 2026. There were 35 calls for service. Year-to-date calls in 2026 is 160. Total township calls, 11. 5 of them were fire alarms, 2 brush fires, 1 wires, 1 vehicle fire, 1 EMS assist, and 1 building fire. And I don't think I saw any training. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Next page. Mutual aid responses, there was 24, 5 to Upper Chi, 5 to Concordville, 1 to Aston, 7 to Claymont, 1 in Brandywine 100, and 5 in Tallyville, and there were 4 trainings conducted. That concludes the chief's report. There's another item on the list here. So last year, we passed an ordinance to allow the volunteer firefighters a tax rebate if they participated in the program. So there's certain metrics required for our firefighters and their business partners. If they log a certain amount of time with the fire company in a given year, then they're able to submit a request for reimbursement for their local taxes. It was our first year doing it, and they were a little bit past the deadline on when that was submitted as according to our ordinance, but there's no statewide trigger that makes us hold that date. That just happens to be what's in the ordinance. So I'm going to make a motion that we consider waiving Bethel Township Post Company number 1 of the February 1st requirement to submit their notarized eligibility list pursuant to the volunteer service tax credit ordinance.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded by Supervisor Iacono. Is there any discussion from the board on this?
Do we know why they missed it?
I think they need a little help with the format, like,
Gotcha.
and I brushed it up for them a little bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking that once they get that process set up, it should be, refreshing the roll registry every year, getting it authorized by the chief and notarized, and it should be before February 1st moving forward. Any comment from the public on this? All is in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to EMS.
EMS report, there were 27 total calls, 21 are ALS calls, and 6 were BLS calls. And the emergency management report for the month, no events of major injury or property damage were reported. Our EMC has been in constant contact with MIPC in reference to the fuel leak mitigation. He assisted with the Easter egg hunt, which was completed without incident, attended the 2026 Township Emergency Management Seminar, the County Emergency Operations Center drill, and the county planning call for the America 250. And he had some other MIPC related items in his report, but I believe we have a representative from MIPC here tonight just to give the public a brief update.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Adam Gattuso. I'm the Public Affairs Director for MIPC. I appreciate the opportunity to come tonight to provide a brief overview of what's been going on at the tank farm, as well as we have team members here. We're happy to stay as long as you'd like to answer questions after the formal board meeting. But before I start, I just want to start by apologizing on behalf of our entire company. Our operations are built on integrity and trust, and for the betterment of 14 years, we had exemplary performance. And last year, we did not. And we have work to do in order to earn back the trust of this community. And you have my commitment, remain steadfast to be here and to have the conversations that need to be had. And as our apology to this community, but I just want to provide maybe a couple minute overview of what's been going on since the beginning of the year. As everybody may know by now, we had an eraser size hole that happened in a tank the size of, it's basically a third of an acre. Since that time, we've been working to not only delineate, which would be like putting a fence around where the impacted area is, and remediate the process, the impacted areas. That's both on-site and off-site. We continue to work with what I will call our fence line neighbors, DEP, who we work in close coordination with, through the order that they had given us, specified that we need to really focus our efforts on the western fence line, and we really need to be in close communication and coordination with people that are 1,000 residents that are 1,000 feet off our western fence line. And that's where our time and energy has really been spent, because those are the residents that have the highest likelihood of being impacted. If I had a do-over for myself and for my team, I would have expanded that area. In hindsight, I really wish that we did, but our main focus was trying to communicate with those that had the highest likelihood of impact. We've been granted access to quite, some properties along our western fence line where we believe there has been impact, and we've done work with those homeowners. I would rather not get into specifics for each individual home because I really believe we need to respect the privacy. This is not something that a resident should be brought into for something that we did as a company. So I really want to respect their privacy. But I can assure you that we're in close communication and coordination with each impacted resident. There are some homes that we still would like to get access to properties because we'd like to do some investigatory work to continue to delineate. And I think the important point that I'd like to drive home is that when you look at delineation, and we're going to have some handouts that kind of have a map that will show some impacted areas. To the north is good, to the east is good, to the south is good. There's a little area southwest of one of our tanks that we still need to do some investigatory work. It's closest to the fence line, it's a little bit off the fence line. So we still need to gain access to those properties before we can say we are fully delineated. We can tell you exactly where we have impact. We continue to work with the residents that, whether it's gaining access to the property to do the investigatory work that we need to do, whether it's putting a path forward for that homeowner that they have requested. We are doing different things for different homes. Our hope is that within the next, several weeks that we'll have more data points that we could then say, hey, we know exactly where it went on the western part of our fence line. Some of the things that we've been doing to keep residents up to date, I just want to point out a couple things. If you don't know, we have a website. It's called chelseatankupdates.com. And each and every week, we update that website with all new documents. So we provide a weekly report to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, who I mentioned earlier that we're in close coordination with. So they need to approve our plan forward. We have weekly discussions with PADEP about what we did the week before and what our plan is the week going forward. So you can actually see the report that we provide to DEP. The only thing that you will not see on that report is specific homeowner addresses. We have a hotline that's set up. Anyone that calls our hotline will get a call back within like 20 to 30 minutes. It doesn't matter if it's Saturday night. It doesn't matter if it's Sunday morning. We will call you back unless it's like 2 in the morning. We have community office hours. If you don't know, we've done a couple here in Bethel. Our next one is on Friday. We're here from 12 o'clock in the afternoon till 8 o'clock at night. So any resident that wants to come in and talk to us about what's going on or has specific questions maybe pertaining to their property, that's another opportunity. Our cell phones are out there. Happy to give our cell phones out. Instead of calling the hotline, you can call us directly. My team and I are always available. In addition, we have kind of community, in-home meetings if a resident would prefer that path forward as well. So we are in a much different place today than we were back in December. We're almost done with our delineation efforts. We just mail for everyone's benefit, and I'm not sure where everybody lives here, so I don't know if you get it, but you can see the fact sheet because we have copies here and we post it on the website. But periodically, we put out fact sheets to provide updates of what we've been doing and what the path forward is. So with that, I just appreciate the opportunity to provide a brief update. I will remain here for as long as anyone wants to answer any specific questions that anybody has, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thanks for providing an update. Any questions from the board? Questions from the public at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please come on up and state your name and address?
Sorry.
Sorry.
The question is around prevention,
You have to
leaning in.
Name and address.
Angela Horstman, 49 Vanity Drive. Question is around prevention. So like what you talked about now is around remediation, not entirely clear around like how the issue started, what you're going to do to prevent issues like this in the future. If that's available, you don't have to go into it here, just point us in the right direction. But I think what would be, well received is what you're doing to kind of prevent issues like this. And I think what's on my mind too is that you are located next to some pretty busy roads. And I know like Craig Williams came by and talked to us as well. And even brought up like terroristic threats are a real risk for areas like this. So maybe you could just talk about what you're doing to prevent in advance.
I very much appreciate that question. It's a great question. While I'm not the technical expert here, I can tell you that our team is looking at everything and everything. So just on how this happened, we hired a very well-known third-party investigator to look at how could something like this happen. We know it's a drill hole. It's a size of an eraser. So we have a third-party investigator that's looking at how it happened and things that we could do to make sure something like that doesn't happen again. I'm not the expert specifically on the tanks, but I do know that we're looking at different technologies. We're looking at different practices and procedures across our entire tank farm to give us, I'm going to say, more leading indicators rather than a lagging indicator. So I can't give you a specific plan right now, but I can tell you it's top of mind. There will be, which I believe is public, a PHMSA report, which is the federal agency that oversees tanks and pipelines, that will have kind of their findings and kind of the outcome of things. And I think that's going to provide more detail. But right now, we're still going through that process with the third-party investigator. And hopefully at some point we can come out with some new procedures and practices that we can provide to everybody. I don't have anything specifically.
Anyone else? All right. Well, like he said, he's going to stick around. So if anybody wants to grab him after the meeting, and then again, Friday from 12 to 8, they will be here. So you can stop on by if you have any additional questions. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. That concludes the emergency management report. I will move into the highway report. Crews who are filling potholes on township roadways, removed several leaning trees along the roads, serviced several police cars and completed minor repairs, replaced several cutting edges on the snow plows and stowed them away for the summer. Started storm drain repairs in a couple of developments and completed 45 of them, and assisted with the shredding event and the Easter egg hunt. I do have another proclamation tonight. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt Proclamation 2026-06, Proclamation of Bethel Township, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, declaring May 17 through 23rd, 2026 Public Works Week. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and service that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Bethel Township. Whereas these infrastructure facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. Whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Bethel Township to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2026 marks the 66th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American and Canadian Public Works Associations. Now therefore be it resolved, Bethel Township does hereby proclaim May 17th through 23rd, 2026 as Public Works Week.
I will second. So motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And as you heard in the highway report, crews have started working on storm drain repairs. And part of that process includes mixing concrete to repair some of the gaps and holes that they are finding. And the machine we have is extremely old. And as our highway foreman likes to say, on its last mix.
Mhm.
And I got to witness it actually because they were on my street a couple weeks ago, and it's looking a little wobbly. I'm not gonna lie. So he is requesting a purchase of a new, it's called a mud mixer, but it's a concrete mixer. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of one mud mixer Evolution in an amount not to exceed $3,843.05.
I will second. Motion made by Supervisor Iacono and seconded by myself. My questions to you were going to be, was this replacing existing equipment?
Yes.
Or were we doing new things? But
No, it's an existing piece of equipment that they dump the bag concrete into and mix it with water, and it spins it around and mixes it up real nice, and then they use that to patch the inlets.
and it sounds like the old mobile mixer is not going to go in municipal bid. It's
I don't think it's of
Yeah.
that quality. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure anybody would buy it, but we could certainly try, I guess.
well, I mean,
I don't even
probably
know.
not working. And is it inlet related work? It does it? Will it
You can do, y'all can do
curb
all
repair?
different kinds of work. I mean, when they're at the parks, if there's a park bench that needs an anchor on the, under the bench, they can mix any kind of concrete with it. So any concrete repairs that are, a small scale job, they would be able to use this for. But mainly he uses it for the inlet repairs.
Okay. That's all the questions I had. Any other questions from the board? Questions from the public on this? Please.
Good evening. Ed Deischer, 1108 Old Post Circle. Not on these two topics, but I just thought I'd jump in on a couple other things. Chips and tar.
Okay.
Have you seen the signs?
Oh, yeah, we've seen
recently?
them everywhere.
Well, they just chipped and tarred Ridge Avenue over in Concord Township, and people are not happy. They are losing
imagine.
they're losing their minds. I see these signs up on Garnet Mine Road, maybe Kirk Road. It sounds like this is PennDOT's new way of saving money.
I'm not gonna say I agree with it,
I'm
so.
told by a couple engineers I know that chips and tar is half the cost of traditional paving.
It's cheap,
Do
cheap
we have a
fix.
line of communication with PennDOT?
We do have a lot of communication. I think that they put out a statement and we have a link to that on our website.
Yeah, they put out like an information bulletin on what chip and tar was because everybody saw the million signs with no explanation.
Right.
We don't have any say in those roads, like which roads they're allowed to do or not
Your
allowed
phones
to
are
do.
gonna be ringing off.
Yeah,
the
oh, I
hook.
know. I'm, like I said, I can't say I think it's the best solution on some of the roads that don't even really look that bad from an engineer's perspective. But I mean, there's not much we can do to stop it.
Right.
The
I mean,
complaints.
when I was young, chips and tar were put on roads that were not typically used by,
Yeah, not
like
high traffic.
roads,
Yeah.
like the road to BYC would be a nice, chip and tar thing, not Garnet Mine
Yeah.
Road or, Kirk Road or we pay the highest gas taxes in the country. And now they're going to start putting down chips and tar on our roads and it's just going to be a nightmare. Anyway,
I think we probably have even a number for PennDOT so that when that starts to happen, you can call them and complain in full force to them.
yeah, I know you guys don't have a say,
Yeah,
but
it's not-
I was hoping that somebody knew somebody somewhere that could have a conversation with them.
I mean, I don't, like I said, I think that's a predetermined, that's part of their.
I know I'll be
maintenance.
avoiding those roads.
I think I would probably agree with that, but there's so many of the
And if
main
you
roads
just
we
bought
drive.
if you just bought a brand new G-Wagon, you are not going to be a happy camper. Or the person behind the G-Wagon when they're driving down the road.
And we don't even have like, I don't think we even have exact dates on which roads are being done when. We just have a list of, these are the roads in your township.
Yeah,
that
they're not
doing.
going to tell you. It's just going to get done
Yeah.
one day and
Yeah.
you'll leave for work and the road will be fine. And then when you come home from work, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
Did you have another item? Is it germane to where we're at in the agenda or
Buildings and grounds, should I wait?
would you
until-
mind?
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
we're gonna do it next. I mean.
Sure.
Yeah, if you come back up. when
Yeah,
she gets to
that's
that.
fine.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Breaking your own rules?
All right, so did we approve that?
No, we did not. Was there any other comments related to facilities maintenance, the mud mixer? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, the buildings and grounds report. Crews cleaned and mulched the flower beds around the office campus and the parks. The ball field at Community Park was cleaned and dragged for the season. A large tree was removed from Jack King Park and chips were used around the trails of the park. Grass and trimming is ongoing. They're looking to plant some creeping ground cover on the embankment at John Atkinson Park to help with erosion and safety in the grass cutting. And they had the AC serviced in the police AV room. That concludes the buildings and grounds report.
Is there comments on buildings and grounds?
Ed Deisher, 1108 Old Post Circle. I do live near Jack King Park. I thought I had heard that there was a request made for a grant for the boardwalks in Jack King Park.
There wasn't a grant. We went through and had engineered drawings created. We went through permitting and have permit approval to rehabilitate the boardwalks.
Okay, so they'll be done this year or, okay, great.
Yeah, we were, spoiler alert, we were going to talk about that in Parks and Rec. And
Okay.
I know you were handling that, but Mr. Hoopman had put together a rough order of magnitude on the cost for that. That's what we needed so that in our next meeting, we can put that in front of the board for a vote for approval of funds. And we anticipate that work to be performed by our highway department.
Great.
Yeah, and they're gonna wait for drier weather, a nice little dry spell to get in there and it's a little wet in some of those areas,
Okay.
so,
The parking lot at Jack King Park, the blacktop got
yes.
destroyed this winter. Is there any plans for resurfacing or?
Yeah, so Vest, actually our highway foreman and our engineer to kind of do an assessment of kind of the township infrastructure and start to kind of develop a long-term plan on those types of big ticket items that we're gonna need to start thinking about budget-wise for the next few years. So
Okay.
it's something, yeah, we've been aware of it and it's something that probably in the next short order here, we're gonna need to get it addressed.
I brought this up before with the office, but I just wanted to talk about it in a meeting. And I don't know how many years ago. I've been on Old Post Circle for 10 years now. I know when I moved in where the sidewalk ends on Ebright Road, that's where the walkway is to Jack King Park. There was a painted walkway there across the road. And that went away when that part of Ebright Road was resurfaced. And a lot of people, especially this time of year, are using the park. So I wanted to see if that could get put. It's probably something
Well, yeah, I feel
highway-
like, did we already review that?
There was a request for a mid-block pedestrian crossing, which I don't think the roads meet the warrants to
Yeah.
have that. If we use PennDOT standards, it doesn't meet the warrants to have one installed.
Yeah, I think, I'm pretty sure it might have even been last year. We can probably pull the information, but I think we reviewed it not that long ago. The request came in and determined it wasn't something that warranted a crosswalk there.
Okay.
And it's also, I don't want to say frowned upon, but not in best measure to put a crosswalk kind of mid-block, not at like a signalized intersection. So on a road like that, we probably, if it was warranted, would need some sort of signage or flashing lights or anything.
Yeah, it's
to-
definitely not like a
Yeah.
PennDOT approved crosswalk. It was just a painted kind of line, just I guess to get people to think about it. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. On to the board reports. Supervisor Mink.
Okay, for the Parks and Rec. For Parks and Rec, at the April 8th meeting, they approved prior minutes and reviewed a successful Easter egg hunt, including strong turnout and a popular photo booth. Planning's underway for upcoming events like dinner and a movie night in May, fireworks in July, the corn boil and other activities. The board also discussed park improvements, including the Jack King Boardwalk project and potential upgrades at John Atkinson Park. And that's the Parks and Rec report, and the details are in the packet.
Thank you. On to zoning hearing, Supervisor Davey.
Thank you. The zoning hearing board had 3 items on its April agenda. The first item, 2026-03, was a front yard fence request on a corner lot of 1219 Zebly Road, which was granted. The second, 2026-04, was a side yard pool request at 3183 Hammond Drive. That matter was continued until the May meeting, on with application 2026-05, which is a request for a pool, fence, and deck to be permitted in the front yard setback on a corner lot at 3187 Ridgeview Court. At the May's meeting, the board will also be hearing application 2026-06. The applicant is challenging the zoning officer's interpretation of the location of a swimming pool at 1739 Garner Mine Road. Respectfully submitted, Gary A. Lanahan, Chairman. I don't know if Gary's in the room, but if he is, Gary, anything to add?
No, you covered it. Thanks, Mike.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. On to Planning Commission, Supervisor Icahn.
Planning Commission did not have a meeting this month. So hopefully next month, there are 2 items they've had in front of them, so possibly next month they might come back.
Thank you. On to Sewer Authority, Supervisor Davey.
Sewer Authority conducted its regular May meeting on May 7th, 2026. Following matters were reported on. Foxfield dedication work has been completed for Phase 6. Dedication documents are being prepared. In Creekside Run, the developer is moving forward with dedication of sanitary sewer improvements and rights of way. In Belmont 3, the developer and security agreements have been signed. Security has been posted. All other pre-construction are being completed by the developer and were or will be met before the construction commences. Annual renewal policies for insurance were being reviewed and approved. The authority received grant funding for the installation and replacement of 4 generators at Green Glen, Northbrook, Scotts Glen, and Lumen Circle. Purchase has been approved by the authority. Plans have been issued to the contractor, and they're awaiting pricing. In Belmont 3, as reported, the developer has commenced construction, and the construction inspection is being performed, and work completed date is acceptable in accordance with the pre-approved plans. The board is requested to consider the proposal from HRG to perform a wastewater rate study to evaluate the adequacy of the authority's current user rates and ensure sufficient revenue to support operations, maintenance, capital improvements, and any debt obligations over a 5-year planning period. If acceptable, a motion authorizing the engineer to proceed with the study in accordance with the proposal would be appropriate. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. I guess I got a question on that last bit there, Supervisor Davey. So it looks like there's a potential for an evaluation on whether or not the amount of residents being served by the sewer authority, if the rates are appropriate. So is there a possibility the findings might be, hey, for the sewer authority to be solvent, there might need to be a change to the rates?
I have no idea. That's why they're going to do the study.
Okay, thank you. On to education.
Okay, during April, the school district addressed and reported a student safety incident in coordination with state police, and they've advised there's no ongoing threat. The district reinforced student safety awareness while protecting privacy. Instructionally, the district continued its focus on student development, including responsible technology use, resilience, and preparation for post-secondary independence, alongside continued family engagement through surveys and advisory councils. On facilities, construction activity at the Pennington site accelerated following winter delays, with work advancing across buildings, utilities, and athletic fields. And the board also completed routine governance, personnel, and financial actions consistent with its responsibilities, and the full report can be found in the packet. I'd like to turn it over to the junior supervisor. Sure.
Bless you.
Starting off with April, so next slide.
Next slide.
On the 15th, our school had National Journalism Honor Society induction ceremony. On the 22nd, we had our athletic spring signing day, which was the second of the year after our fall signing day. On the 24th, we had junior prom, and 28th and 29th, we had our annual art show. Next slide. 4th through 15th, we have AP testing, which is nationwide set dates. 11th through 15th, students, freshmen and sophomore mainly have to go through Keystone testing in order to graduate high school. 19th, we don't have school due to election day. 20th, the seniors will go through a mock crash. 22nd, we have no school again due to an in-service day. 22nd, we have senior prom. 25th, schools are closed due to Memorial Day. 26th is senior class trip, and 28th, we have the athletic awards for seniors. For representation this month, the Technology Student Association had 3 teams place top 10 with 2 additional teams qualifying for nationals in June. Central League writing competition, Mananya Sharma, a 10th grader, earned first place, and Jules Bully C earned 3rd place as a 9th grader. Science Olympiad attended Penn State competition, and they finished 5th place, which was their overall highest rank yet.
Thank you. So that concludes the school district's report.
On to Rich Cole Library.
On to the library. So today we would like to give to the library their annual ribbons of $34,578. I'd like to invite the representatives from the library up.
Oh, I guess so. Did That's gonna be one of those ones.
Get stuck in the eight.
Oh, sorry, it's gonna change. Maybe that goes. I slide all the way down. Thank you.
So Garrick Weaver, 3172 William Road. I'm one of the co-trustees, and just want to point out a couple things. If you look back at the record year over year, you'll see that Bethel Township consistently uses about 25% of the library, and that's a pretty large number when you think about it. Anybody on the supervisors just have a guess on what the circulation out of our library is every single month? Just a guess? About 14,700. So that's roughly what it is. But that's not necessarily just people from our municipality. There are other people that obviously come to ours. We also account for about 121 applications from the 5 communities for library cards. And again, we are consistently representing about 20% from that. A couple other things, 13 different programs a month we do, and those were in direct response to a survey that was done about 3 years ago and was just done this year as part of our 5-year strategic plan. Thank you. Think of the term. And summer programming is coming up again, very, very popular. And we are looking for sponsors for that, hint. But we also, quite frankly, as an organization, we do not get all of our money from the state of Pennsylvania because we are one of 5 municipalities, and we must meet a $5 per head per household amount to be able to account for basically additional funding from the state. Annually, that's correct. And we're not the only township that's in this position. It is something that, the last time, we've done a lot of stuff, and I challenge anybody that has access to a computer, look at our auditing reports. The last one's back to 2024. You'll see we've done a lot of things. We've expanded ourselves to be open not only during the summer, but year round on Sundays. We've done that by
by doing a lot of things. We've moved around staffing. We've brought on additional staff. We have a new executive director, director. And we've just started to do some creative things. But we also rely heavily on fundraising. We've been very fortunate with Delco Gives, with our annual dinner that we do, as well as our annual appeal. So we are very thankful for the money that we receive from the township. I was here when we gave a whole lot less as a township. We couldn't do it without it, but we would ask everybody to think about that. And somebody was asking me today about the library, and they said, why should I give money if everything with technology? I said, the last time I actually checked a book out of the library. So community room in the library over here. Last time I was on this side of the library was about a year and a half ago. I've checked out 150 books since then and read every single one of them. It's not that I don't want to be in the library. It's just I'm busy and that's the way I access it. So there are a lot of different ways that people can use the library. And so I encourage everybody in the community to think of it not just as a building, but as a resource. One last thing I want to talk about is if you are on social media, make sure to follow Rachel Cole Library. And then the last thing is we have a new thing called the Library of Things. So if you're looking to a certain kind of cake plate or a pan to make a cake in, and you don't have it, and you want to go out and buy it, believe it or not, we have that kind of stuff. We're looking at some other things to be able to add, because that's what people are looking for these days. They're not just looking for books and things like that. They're looking for other things and a resource. And that's what the library is becoming. We do appreciate all the support, not only the monetary support, but the office's support and supervisor support, because we can't do it without you. And Bill is always a resource for us. So we appreciate all that. So thank you. Any questions, anybody? Okay, read a book.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll move on to the manager's report. Dr. Addison.
Thanks, Chairman. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to share a quick update on improvements made to the township's website 311 report a concern system based upon the feedback that the office has received from residents. The icons are now larger. The navigation is a little simpler to use, and the system is working better on both mobile phones and portable devices, which seems to be what everyone is using these days. Second, we improved the make a request process with clearer instructions and better category options so residents can submit concerns faster and easier by those icons. We also added a view your request dashboard where residents can see all their submitted requests in one place to get the feedback. And then lastly, residents can now easily track their requests in real time through clear stages, such as received, when we received it, the date and time, in review, assigned, who the township assigned the actual 301 call to, and then the actual progress of it comes up in reports. Each step includes a date and timestamp so everyone can better follow the progress of their request. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Addison. There's no old business, on to new business.
So I'd like to make a motion to declare as a proclamation 2026-07 Mental Health Awareness Month of May of 2026. So whereas mental health is essential to the well-being, overall well-being, resilience, and quality of life of individuals, families, and communities, and whereas mental health conditions affect people of all ages, backgrounds, and walks of life, and early intervention, education, and access to care can significantly improve outcomes. And whereas stigma and misunderstanding surrounding mental health continue to prevent individuals from seeking the help and support they need. And whereas rising awareness and promoting open conversations about mental health fosters a more compassionate, supportive, and inclusive community. And whereas community organizations, healthcare providers, educators, first responders, and advocates play a vital role in supporting mental health and wellness in Bethel Township. And whereas it is important to encourage residents to prioritize self-care, seek help when needed, and support one another in times of challenge and recovery. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Bethel Township hereby proclaims the month of May 2026 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Bethel Township. And be it further resolved that we encourage all residents to increase their understanding of mental health, reduce stigma, and support efforts that promote mental wellness and access to care for all.
And I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Supervisor Ming. Please, go ahead. On to the next item. I
Thought you were trying-
apologize.
Thought somebody
No.
might have a hand up.
Sorry.
So we had some grant opportunities present themselves and did not have enough time to get everything prepared before this meeting. And the grants are due at the end of May. So we are looking to have a special meeting just to authorize applying for those grants. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize to advertise for a special meeting on May 28th at 6:30.
And I will second that. So motion made by Supervisor Iacono and seconded by myself. If it's possible to include, if we can get the finances in for the Jack King Park
might also put that
repair,
on the agenda.
it might help the highway group's schedule in terms of getting that done as opposed to waiting until June. So if that could be added to that, that would be beneficial as well. Obviously up for.
Yeah,
vote.
and primary intent is for the grants,
For the
but
grants.
obviously some other stuff might pop up.
And I want to mention that I won't be able to join that meeting.
Okay, thanks. Any other discussion from the board on that meeting?
What are the subjects of the proposed grant applications?
It's the watershed restoration and protection grant. These are all grants we've applied for before. Watershed restoration and protection grant for the Sharon Basin, the Greenways, Trails and Recreation grant for Schaefer, and the flood mitigation program for Goodley.
Are those matching grants?
There are matching funds committed, yes.
And what's the grant valuations? Do we know?
Matt sent me costs, but again, because I haven't gone through everything, I have not, I had Matt update cost estimates. And I think they went up a little bit, right? Yeah.
Went up in the match or in the?
No, I mean, in the total cost anticipated, because, you know, we've been trying for quite a while. I will say, we did hear from Senator Fetterman's office and Congresswoman Scanlon's office about the Goodley Road project, and they have put that on their list for appropriations. So if we get lucky, maybe in the next, they said within the next year, that takes that long for the bill to go through the state. We may get some funding supported by the two of their agencies for the Goodley Road project. We submitted a bunch of paperwork to each of their respective groups for consideration for the project, answered a bunch of questions, gave them cost information, and they approved it to be on the list. So fingers crossed, we'll get some additional funding for that through those entities, which we could use as a match if we win the grant for Goodley.
Is there any questions from the public about the special meeting? All those in favor? Opposed?
Opposed.
I think you got your 3-1.
Yeah. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, on to item C, which is the discussion of the local services tax and the business privilege tax. So I guess we'll start with the local services tax. This would be a tax that is a maximum of $52 a year. So about $1 a week. And it would be a tax towards individuals that work within Bethel Township. So if we were having this discussion, there's a lot of, I guess, variables about how that's interpreted. But let's say you have, wherever you're filing your taxes as your employer's location, if that were to be in Bethel, then this tax would apply to you. And the other tax that we're discussing is the business privilege tax. That is not on the individual employee, that would be on the business owners. So if you own and operate a business in Bethel, then the business privilege tax would be a range between $200 and $500 per business, not based on revenue, just based on the fact that you're operating a business in Bethel Township. In the discussions that were transmitted to the rest of the board, it's common for that tax to be $365 a year, so roughly $1 a day for businesses. There is, in the packet, there was a sample of a business privilege tax that was recently, I guess, discussed and chats forward for everybody's review. It was adopted. And there were some bullet points in there about local services taxes. I mean, I think one of the things is there is some regulations on financial limits. So if people make under, I believe, $12,000 a year, then they would be exempt from the local services tax. That doesn't mean that we couldn't put a limit above that amount. So I think this discussion, at least on my part, is looking for an opportunity or ways to try to close the gap between the expenses and our revenue, are these avenues that we want to explore. So I think that the rest of the board has had an opportunity to see this for a couple of weeks. So I'm going to open it up to the rest of the board. Is there conversation or discussions you want to have around these items?
Yeah, I'd like to mention that the people who work in Bethel and the people in the businesses in Bethel all have access to our our EMS and our police, and so it seems reasonable, at least to me, that that they would contribute to paying for those services since they have access to them and are able to use them whenever they need to while they're in Bethel Township.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, I think Mr. Madron and kind of walking me through these are pretty common. I mean,
So I did a quick look, right when we were leading up to the meeting, and every municipality we touch on local services tax. Upper Chi, Chadsford, Concord, Chester Heights, Aston, all have them, and I would say the vast majority of municipalities in Delaware County do. Just to sort of drill down on it a little bit, 25% of the local services tax has to be used for emergency services. The rest can basically be used for general purposes. Roadways are another enumerated purpose. With regard to business privilege, there's a little bit of a dichotomy because historically business privilege taxes were a percentage of revenue as opposed to a flat fee. The Commonwealth changed the statute so you can't enact a new BPT that is a percentage of revenue. A number of our, like Aston and Upper Chi, they have their grandfathered on that, right? So they still have a business privilege, or sometimes called a mercantile tax. It's a percentage of revenue. Chadsford has that flat rate tax, and some of the other municipalities in the county have a flat rate tax.
And so if you live in Bethel and you don't work in Bethel, neither of these apply to you.
Correct. So it's a way to, get some revenue without directly impacting all of your residents.
And we just put one use case in the email correspondence between the board that if you had, let's say, 500 employees in Bethel Township, which seems to me to be a lot, but if there was 500 folks that their employer was here, and it was $52, it's around $26,000 of revenue. And if there was 75 or so businesses within Bethel Township, that would be about $36,000. So we're not talking about.
Yeah, your BPT will be a little bit higher than you think because contractors doing over a certain amount of work in the township are then generally subject to it. A lot of times, like I own through another entity, I own the office I work in. So in Chadsford, I pay twice. I pay once as the landlord and once as the law firm. So there's a couple hidden factors there on the BPT that might bump it up a little bit.
And in the same way that there's a limit on, like you have to make at least $12,000 a year in order to get hit with the LST. There, so right now there's the you can either have the BPTB across everybody, or it's possible to maybe have a limit, a lower limit on how much you have to make as a company in order to have to pay it as well. Right?
Yeah, I think that's the whole purpose here, right? Are these things we want to entertain, having Mr. Madron start the draft? And I think we can add our own additional limitations to exclude. And I think obviously some of the conversations that I've had is folks that work as a waitress in town and their income isn't significant. You'd hate to see that person being subjected to a tax that everybody else gets the benefit for. So I think there has to be the right thresholds that make sense. At least that's my opinion anyways.
I mean, I have a lot of questions. It sounds like a logistical nightmare. We don't even have a business list of all the businesses in the township when I ask for it. So I don't even know how you go about tracking that, let alone all the employees that work in the township. So I would love to know how that is even remotely going to happen.
So the collection and monitoring aspect is what we're talking about.
And then, yeah, I mean, kind of caveating like into that, how does this get like collected? Ed's not going to do this,
Correct.
right? You have to hire somebody. So what's that going to cost?
It typically gets collected through a third-party agency like Keystone, and it's one of the reasons that I categorically object to the adoption of either of these two taxes. Number one, in this economy, I don't think the last thing this board should be doing is imposing new taxes on people, whether it's individuals or businesses. And people always say, well, it's just businesses, they can absorb it, but businesses pass those costs through onto their consumers and their customers. If a contractor comes into town and does work, his or her costs might go up because they got to pay the tax. And you're going to be paying a third-party agency to collect and administer it, so they're going to take a piece. So you're not going to get 100 cents on the dollar. And the amount of money we're talking about, I don't think it's worth it to put that additional strain on the residents and the companies that are doing business in the township at the moment. In better financial times, maybe. And we're not Concord. We don't have all that corporate business that Concord has. Same with Aston. And, we don't know when they passed those. I'm sure they passed them years and years ago during different times. But as of right now, the costs of everything going up, I think it's the last thing this board should be entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to know more about if there is a third party, like what is that going to cost us? And I'm sure it does impact Ed also in some way. And how does that factor in? It'll impact Peter and our treasurer because we have to track everything separately and create separate funds for all that because they can only be used for certain things. So you're talking about not only from the tax collector's perspective, but from the financial perspective. It just seems like there's a lot of logistical items that need to be even thought through before it's even considered to be started to be drafted. And I think there are other ways to reduce our spending that we have not done a great job with enacting. So I think that's something that should be also looked at. I also wonder if this is like a litigation issue. I don't know if there's been any cases, but like, could this be, contested in some way? What's been out there? What have people done or said about it with regards to the legalities of it all and any other concerns related to that? And then not to mention, how do you pick the thresholds? There's just a lot to it. And I think it needs a lot more thought. I would suggest a little more of a thorough presentation if you want it to be considered. That's just my 2 cents.
They know 1431 office. Did you say there's only 500 employees in here in the township?
No, I was just using an example that if there were 500 employees, I don't know the number of employees in the township.
How about the Elwyn houses? Would they be subjected to this?
I'm sorry, you say the Elwyn houses?
The employees there would. All employees would do. The employees would. Because they're businesses, right?
In some regards, yes, and in some regards.
I don't
no.
think they're doing it out of kindness of their heart.
Right, under the Fair Housing Act, they're technically residential uses, but they are, they are employees and they'd be subject to that.
I don't agree with you.
Please.
On in 1612 Wendy Wynn. Also, one other thing to take into consideration is you have companies that are out there such as mine who already pay the taxes to Middletown, and we just have an office here. How does that happen? And would that be something that you couldn't tax the business in both places if I'm correct? Is that correct?
We'd have to, take a look.
Something else we need to look into.
I'm
There's a lot
sorry,
of,
I didn't
no,
mean to make it
no,
sound-
because that was kind of one of the items on my list. It was just, how do you figure out who and how much? And it's just, there's just a lot there that I think needs to be thought about.
Oh, sorry.
Makes it easier. John Nevy, 3213 Sam Farm Lane. It's concerning that we don't know, what the even potential revenue for this is. We have theoretically someone said, let's say 500 employees. We don't know. We don't know how many employees there are. This is a very residential community, township. We aren't Chatsworth, we aren't Aston, we aren't, where we have lots of businesses and there's a commercial strip and everything else. Boost Corner is about the biggest thing we have and from a commercial center. So we don't know how much revenue is, even by the best estimates, the estimates you're providing, we're talking about less than $100,000 a year.
For sure.
I think, probably well less than 100,000.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's gonna be a nightmare to manage. By everyone's estimates, we're gonna have to hire an outside firm. They're gonna take a third off the top. So let's assume you take 75,000. Well, that's 25,000 off the top.
They take a pretty nominal amount. I've negotiated these contracts. It's really pennies on the dollar thing.
It's still not a lot of money that you're raising. And again, it's, additional burdens, additional taxes. And ultimately it's not raising significant amounts of money. And it's not offsetting things for the township. And it's not going to alleviate the need to take a harder look at our books, harder looking at our spending, and do a better job of reining that in and living within our means, or identifying if there are critical needs that, truly do need, additional funding, like EMS, for instance, where we know we've had EMS issues the last several years. I don't know that the board has really taken a hard look at our budgets along those lines and said, what really makes sense to trim out, what really makes sense to prioritize. There's been lots, again, at least from my perspective, and I do attend, you guys know, most of these board meetings. I haven't seen a real comprehensive review of that in terms of prioritizations of our budgeting. And I think step one, from my perspective, again, certainly, as I've done in workplace and businesses, would be, let's take a look at what we're spending right now. Let's prioritize it. Let's see what are the have to haves and the nice to haves. And then before we start looking at, okay, what are the revenue sources, make certain that we have the gotta haves, the nice to haves, and if we have it's fine. If we don't, that's fine too. And make some harder decisions that way before we start considering other revenue sources, because those revenue sources will impact and burden the people of this township, whether directly because you're impacting people's salaries, or indirectly through business taxes and things of that sort, which will maybe the companies will absorb it, maybe they don't, maybe they pass it on. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public on this? Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. We are on to announcements. Yep. So the primary election day is May 19th. I think polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So don't forget to get out to your precinct and vote.
The next announcement is that the Parks and Rec will be hosting a dinner and movie night on Friday, May 29th at 7:30 at the elementary school. So bring your own lawn chairs and bass blankets, and they're going to be showing Zootopia 2. And they're calling it dinner and a movie because the food trucks are gonna be there starting at 7:30. And then the movie will start, once it gets dark. But if you get there earlier, you can have dinner before the movie starts. Also, there are going to be log cabin tours on Sunday.
And the township will be hosting its annual e-recycling event on Saturday, June 13th from 9 to 11 behind the John Myers building here. So bring your small electronic devices for recycling by Optenacre.
Thank you. We'll take any other comment from the public. Please, I see, Mr. Plasha, I see you in the back. If you wouldn't mind going first, then Mr. Nevy.
Yeah, why did you call?
I'm going to ask you to come up. I'm sorry.
Were you here for, I didn't even see you come in. Were you here for any of that tax discussion? Okay.
It wasn't my idea.
I wasn't affecting you, so
Here's the one.
I mean, I didn't see you
Ed
back there. I
Plasha.
would have started asking you questions.
Ed Plasha, 1019 Belmont Lane. Nothing new on the township collection side. Things are a little slow. The school board will be approving the school budget. I believe it's going to be around 3.5% tax increase effective July 1. Those bills will get sent out by the school on July 1st, and then it gets heavy again collecting. We'll send out notices for past due township in September and then December, but we'll get to the regular collection rate for that. And about those other two taxes, it wouldn't be on the tax bill. It wouldn't really affect me that much. But what you need to consider too is the enforcement side of it. I didn't hear much discussion about that. Who tracks, who gets billed, who hasn't paid, and who collects it, who hasn't paid, and how do you go enforce that? Adds a lot of complexity to that. So remember that.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Nevy, please.
Two unrelated, two weird.
Yeah. That's good.
John Nevy, 3213 Salem Farm. Two small comments. One, just because I know 4th of July is coming up, if there's something, just register as a complaint as a township member. It has been very difficult the last several years for me to be able to go and attend fireworks because the parking, particularly with mostly out of state plates, has been absurd. I don't know if there's anything we could do to potentially look to try and restrict the parking, at least within the parking lots, to township residents or a minimum in-state residents of some sort. But whether that, I've seen in other communities that I've visited, actually went to one last year on a different day where they had, you had to basically sign up in advance type of thing to get a parking sticker or that type of thing. Just to allow residents to be able to get there. So I'm not having to get there either 4 hours in advance or park, behind behind Bethel Springs and walk through and pray to God I can find a parking spot there and not get trapped there because everyone's coming in and not going out. But if there's something we could do to do that, just to facilitate it for the township residents, it would be useful. The other piece is I just wanted to just make note and for the police department. There was at least one creepy, very, very creepy guy. I didn't have time to call the police and after the fact, but who was wandering back through Schaefer Reserve about 2 weeks ago. Basically had no shirt, no shoes, left his shirt and shoes at the trash cans at the entrance and was walking around in the back at like early morning hours, like, 8, 9 a.m. I only saw him as he was exiting the park, but he looked like he was wandering through the park for a while. So if there's any way you can just kind of beef up patrols or keep things looking out there. It just was really, really creepy. And having caught someone doing something having caught someone about 10 years ago in with the sheep when Dr. Schaefer actually still lived there.
Oh, gosh.
And I wish to God I were exaggerating that, but I'm not. I did call the police on that one. That time I did call the police. It just is a concern point. If people, so this point. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Any other? Yes.
Just on budgeting, last summer I had brought up the possibility of doing a 5-year outlook on future budgeting. I've sat on several boards and most recently in the last probably 10 years, most of those boards have looked back 5 years in order to look forward 5 years. And I think that would be really helpful for the residents of Bethel Township and I've been on those boards 5 years later, and the sad part is you projected as best as you could, but it still wasn't enough. So it's not like you're going to over project. So I think if the residents of Bethel Township, we could start early this year with the budgeting process, look back 5 years and then look forward 5 years. And I've talked to some of the finance people in the township who said they'd be willing to kind of take on some of that lift for the board. I think that would be really helpful for everybody in this environment that we're working with. So, thank you.
Yeah, so I guess I'll speak to that. Although we were working on a 3-year plan. So Mr. Bars, Mr. Plash, and myself has started looking at projecting out the next 3 years. Maybe 3 years isn't enough. Maybe it has to go out to 5 years. Got some feedback on, how to, I guess, our first cut is looking at the entire budget, but there might be a better way where we're just looking at the chunks and departments and trying to figure out where that's at. But that activity is happening now.
I'm not a finance person, but I've been involved with that, and I think the heaviest lift is year one. But then you have the template, and you could just kind of roll into it each year as you're going through your budgeting. So I think that would be helpful. But thank you. I'm glad you're thinking about it.
Is it possible or reasonable to have, I don't know, some sort of committee of concerned residents contribute to that kind of thing? I don't know.
I mean, I think we get feedback from the residents during our budget meetings, preliminary budget meeting. And we've had residents even come and meet with Peter separately who have a little bit of a finance background and annually.
So if Mr. Deisher is suggesting that there are people who are willing to help, maybe we could take them up on it in some way.
I don't know if you meant our professionals already that you spoke with. That's what I thought you had implied.
I know, I'm friends with Joe Thurswick, and I know Joe.
Joe's in here, yeah, regularly.
Well, he's been in the township so long and has done a lot of that in the past. You saw the presentation.
Joe declined to participate.
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he declined.
Yeah, he's put on some good presentations in the past, and I think he actually already kind of has the framework maybe to build on that.
Ed Plash at 1019 Belmont Lane. That was also not me in Schaefer Preserve either. Just clearing the air of everything here. So Mr. Denny already worked on projections and all. We took a quick look at them. We're going to try to set up a meeting in the next week or two. Joe did decline, but I would suggest let us work on the model right now, because right now the model is very detailed. It might not need to go that deep in order to get a better message across and not get caught up in all the noise, so to speak. Let us come up with the model that we then think we could share, and the public could then weigh in and maybe have 1 or 2 people join at that point, but not at this point. But eventually we should get there. All right, thanks.
Let us be considered.
Any other comments from the public? I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.